Hey guys, welcome back. If you've seen my previous video, if you're new here, hi, I'm Siobhan and I'm 17 years old and I'm going to be studying medicine at King's College London this autumn. This video is basically going to be about my journey to medical school. As it says in the title, what I had to do and how I did. As I said in my previous video, medicine is a very long journey, starting from when you want to do it till getting into medical school. And there are many different steps along the way, especially if you want to study medicine in the UK. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my personal experience with you of from when I started wanting to do medicine, when I really decided that yes, this is what I want to do, till when I actually got into medical school, which was very recent. The best way to do this would be to break it up into several sections and break it up into each part of the process. But the thing is that this is a time in your life when you're preparing for medical school that you'll not be doing one thing at one time. So in my journey, I wasn't doing each thing separately. Many things were going on simultaneously, so they'll probably overlap some amount. I'm also not going to delve into much detail in each section or in each part of this video, because I think each separate part of the process requires its own video, because they're obviously not simple steps. So we'll go deeper into that later in newer videos. But for this one, I just want you to get a general overview of the whole process and how I went about it and what I learned along the way, what happened to me, for me. Okay. So basically the reason I wanted to make this particular video was because when I started out, I had no idea what the process would look like, and I learned a lot about it along the way. However, I think it would have been majorly beneficial to me if I actually heard someone's entire story and I knew exactly what you had to go through from beginning to end and all the steps, and if I knew one person's entire experience. I think that would have been something that would have really benefited me, and hopefully it'll benefit some of you. And if you have already gone through the process, hopefully you'll find this interesting, because you can compare your own experience to my experience. Okay, so I'm going to be breaking this video into multiple parts. I'm going to put the timestamps for those in here in a minute. So those parts are going to be IGCSE, the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, which is the equivalent of A-levels. Then my work experience and volunteering, giving the UCAT, writing my personal statement, choosing the medical schools I'm going to apply to, and then my interviews, whether they be the multiple mini interviews or the one panel interview that I gave. The first part is IGCSE. So I did IGCSE, which is the international GCSEs, which are certified by Cambridge, and they give you letter grades by subject. So I took 9 subjects, and the subjects I took were biology, chemistry, physics, maths, economics, English literature, English language, and art and design, and Spanish as well. Out of these subjects, I got 6 A stars, A star being the highest grade you can get, 2 A's, which is the second highest grade you can get, and 1 B, which is third highest grade you can get. So my B was in art and design, and my 2 A's were in the Englishes. So overall 6 A stars put me in a good position for medical school. I was probably not very competitive for the most prestigious medical schools such as Oxford or Cambridge, but I was about average and in a safe space for the next level of universities such as Imperial, UCL, King's, and the University of Edinburgh. After GCSEs, I took the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, which is the final set of exams that I did as part of school. In the IB, you have to take 6 subjects, 3 higher levels and 3 standard levels. So the ones that are relevant are the higher levels, and for my higher levels I took biology, chemistry and economics. IB scores you out of 45 in total, and it scores your subjects out of 7. So throughout IB, I worked harder in my first year to create a good foundation, because that time I didn't have to focus on other medicinal things such as my application and work experience and volunteering. So I could completely devote myself to IB in the first year, which was 11th grade or year 12. But in the year after that, all these things came onto my plate, so I had to balance them around, and there wasn't much time to improve further. This is what gave me my predicted grades, and my predicted grades were 43 out of 45, and I had 776 at HL with 7s in biology and chemistry and a 6 in economics. This once again put me in a really good place to apply to university, because those predicted grades are really high and would really benefit me in terms of my application.
Which is that underneath the chest, which is
Work experience and volunteering. I did work experience twice before applying for medicine, and I did one right before one sort of observership right before my interview. So the first one I did was in a hospital in Delhi. The second one I did was in a more rural hospital in made for tribal people, and it was a charitable hospital run by two very qualified doctors in the mountains of southern India. And I chose to go to this place because, one, it was interesting to see a hospital functioning within a different demographic, and also it was one of the few places in India where I could get a work experience of a very high quality, and that would allow me to explore various parts of the hospital and hospital procedures. For the final set of work experience that I did was just before my interviews. It was just a few days in my local hospital, a very large hospital, and I was working with a team of doctors, a few junior doctors, a few nurses, and a senior doctor on a particular ward. My volunteering, I had one major initiative, which was a school-driven initiative. It was where a group of students and I taught a bunch of underprivileged children how to dance. So basically, the importance of volunteering or its function is to basically be able to. It's a chance for you to demonstrate certain qualities, and it's a chance for you to develop them as well. For example, communication, empathy, teamwork, or leadership, and you need to collect these experiences like I did so that you can use them later on, whether it be for your personal statement or for your interviews. So the next important part of the admissions process for medicine in the UK is the entrance exam. So the entrance exam varies by university. There are two main ones, which are the BMAT and the UCAT. So the BMAT is the biomedical admissions test, and it's for a very small group of universities. And the UCAT, which is the University Clinical Aptitude Test, that's a test that covers most of the universities in the UK. So the BMAT is a test that's more centered around knowledge of the sciences. It covers GCSE science and maths, versus the UCAT, which is more about acquired skills and reasoning. Basically, the BMAT covers universities like Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, UCL, Lancaster, and Brighton and Sussex, and a few more. And the UCAT covers the rest. So I only took the UCAT because for various reasons I wasn't eligible for many of the BMAT universities. And I started studying for the UCAT in April of 2019, the year I was applying, and I took the UCAT in August of 2019, so that makes it 4 months. So in basically the way I studied for the UCAT was sparse preparation, and I studied a little every day, which was very helpful because the UCAT is about acquired skills, and it's about practice. And the more time you spend on the UCAT, doing it a little by little every day, but also thinking about it for the rest of the day, it stays in the back of your mind, and it basically becomes something that you know how to do. Versus the BMAT, for which you can study 1 or 2 weeks before with a lot of basically rote learning those few weeks before, because it's about knowledge. whereas that won't benefit you at all in the UCAT. You need a long period of preparation. So now, I gave the UCAT in August, and just as a frame of reference, the average score in the UCAT, which is scored out of 3,600, is 2,470. It's made up of 4 sections that are each scored out of 900, and these sections are verbal reasoning, decision making, abstract reasoning, and quantitative reasoning. The 5th section, which is known as the situational judgment test, and this tests your ethical knowledge and basically your knowledge of good medical conduct, which as described by the General Medical Council in the UK. And this is scored in different bands. The highest you can score is band 1 and the lowest you can score is band 4. So as I said, the average score is 2470, which when averaged by section comes out to be 617.5. The minimum score you would require as an international applicant to have a chance at getting into medicine is around 650, which is 2600, and an ideal score would be around 700 or 2800 out of 3600. And as a domestic applicant, it would be a bit lower because the odds are more in your favor. Then I took the UCAT, and basically my results were, I'll put them up here. I got 630 in verbal reasoning, 640 in abstract reasoning, 830 in quantitative reasoning, and 870 in abstract reasoning, along with a band 2 in situational judgment. So when I compile all of that, it becomes 2970 out of 3600, which is a very high score as it falls in the 97th percentile for all test takers. The UCAT was clearly one of my strengths when I applied to university. Next part of this entire process is choosing your medical schools and writing your personal statement. Now, basically, I chose my medical schools based on the principle that there'd be 2 that would be high risk and 2 that would be low risk. So high risk universities were ones that had vague acceptance criteria. High-risk universities were the University of Edinburgh and King's College London, as those are known to be more difficult to get into and also don't have any clear guidelines for your UCAT requirement and how they make offers for interviews and offers to study medicine there as well. The University of Edinburgh and King's College London are both very academically competitive and high-ranked universities as well. Then I chose the other 2 based on what my statistics would be a good fit for, and I'd have a high probability of getting an interview call. So these were basically sort of my range of universities where I'd be a good fit. I applied to Newcastle University and Sheffield University here, as they had clear UCAT cutoffs that they gave for the previous years. The next year's cutoffs come after you apply, but they usually stay similar year to year. So I applied to those 2, hoping to get an interview call from as many as I can. So those are the 4 universities I applied to, and I also applied to King's Biomedical Science as a 5th non-medicine option. Now, writing my personal statement. A personal statement, for a lack of a better phrase, is a way for you to show yourself off to the university. You have to outline why you want to do medicine and what about you what work you've done and what achievements you have that make you write for medicine. You basically have to make this essay very concise with a lot of substance, and it should be example driven. So I wrote about 5 drafts of my personal statement before sending out my final one. I sent all of this out together as my final UCAS application on October 15th, the deadline. So now we come to the interviews. I got interview calls at 3 of my 4 universities, at the University of Sheffield, Newcastle University, and King's College London. The University of Edinburgh rejected me pre-interview, and I think that is for 2 reasons. One, my IGCSE wasn't competitive enough, as the standard of applicants to the University of Edinburgh is very high, as most applicants are also applying to Cambridge and Oxford. The second reason, I think, was because of my situational judgment band. I scored in band 2. this was the first year that the University of Edinburgh was having interviews. So their only method for ethical testing was through the situational judgment test, which obviously they gave a very high weightage to because of the lack of an interview. Although they added an interview this year, they probably continued the tradition of giving a lot of importance to the situational judgment score. And these are probably the two places I lost out and missed out on getting an interview. So the style of interviews. King's College London and the University of Sheffield had MMIs, or multiple mini interviews. So basically these are formatted in a way where you have between 5 to 9 stations, and at each station you have a new interviewer, and this interviewer tests a different skills that can be tested in an MMI range from your communication skills to giving examples from your work experience or from volunteering. Basically, it's a chance for you to demonstrate what type of person you are and what type of skills you have and how good your communication skills are in general. I think I didn't perform that well at the University of Sheffield versus compared to King's College London and Newcastle University. The interview at both of Newcastle University and King's College London were preceded by a lot of preparation on my part, versus I think I didn't do as much for the University of for my Sheffield interview. And I think that's where I lost out over there. Newcastle was a panel interview, it wasn't an MMI, so it was just a normal interview with 2 interviewers. And this was a very comfortable format. It was very conversational, and because I performed much better at the King's interview and Newcastle interview, I got offers for these 2 universities, versus at the University of Sheffield I got waitlisted, and because I had other offers I was taken off the waitlist. As most of you know, this year our exams were cancelled, our final exams for the International Baccalaureate, and I think it's a similar situation for those doing A-levels, and because of that there was a lot of uncertainty about whether I'd be able to meet my offer. However, I put in a lot of work on my coursework this year because I knew that it would have a high weightage and a lot of importance as there were no exams to grade us on, and because of that recently on results day I met my offer for King's College London, which was 35 out of 45. 766 in my HL subjects, and I got 41 out of 45 with 766 in my HL subjects with a 7 in biology. And yeah, so now I have an unconditional offer for medicine at KCL. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found it helpful if you are an aspiring medical applicant, especially to the UK or anywhere else. And also if you're already a medical student or beyond, I hope you found this video interesting about the entire application process, and maybe it's something you can relate to as well if you've gone through it. And if you did like this video, please drop a like down below and go and click the subscribe button. Thank you.